The subway station. In the shadowed heart of an old city, covered by the modern bustle yet untouched by its light, lay a dilapidated subway station known only in hushed tales among urban explorers. This station, lost to records and reality, bore the ominous title of Station 13, a place said to swallow light and sound, and with them, the occasional thrill-seeker. Alex, Jordan, Mia, and Sam were four friends bound not just by their unyielding curiosity but by a shared fascination with the paranormal and the forgotten. They had spent years exploring abandoned buildings and haunted sites, but Station 13 was different. It was a myth among the urban exploration community, a place few claimed to have seen and even fewer had returned from. Equipped with robust flashlights, high-resolution cameras, and a blend of eager anticipation mixed with a palpable sense of dread, they congregated in front of the alleged entrance to the mysterious Station 13. This entrance was cunningly camouflaged as an old, decrepit utility access point, effectively concealed from the untrained eye. It was fortified with bars and chains that seemed as old as the city itself, and adorned with numerous signs warning of danger and forbidding trespass, which were plastered across the surface like faded tattoos on its heavily rusted doors. The eerie ambience of the setting only heightened their awareness that they were about to step into a place that was meant to be left undisturbed. "Are we sure about this?" Mia asked, her voice betraying a sliver of doubt. "We've done worse than this," Jordan replied, his grin visible even in the twilight that enveloped them. With a resolute and firm snip of the bolt cutters, they decisively cut through the rusty chains, opening the gate to a hidden world that time had forgotten. As they carefully descended the crumbling, debris-littered stairs, they could feel the air becoming denser, thick with the musty scent of mold and the distinct tang of corroded metal pervading their senses. The station gradually revealed itself, emerging like a scene plucked from a bygone era. The platforms and tracks lay shrouded in deep shadows, enveloped in darkness so complete it seemed to swallow the beams of their flashlights. The silence around them was so profound and all-encompassing that it almost seemed sentient, as if the station itself was aware of their intrusion and watched them with an unseen gaze. As they ventured deeper, their path lit only by the beams of their flashlights, the silence was broken by a faint, rhythmic tapping, like the sound of a distant hammer, or perhaps, something more sinister, pacing the darkness. Sam, ever the skeptic, chalked it up to natural sounds of an old, settling structure, but the others weren't convinced. "Listen to that," Alex whispered, halting the group. "It's almost like footsteps." Ignoring the sounds, they pressed on to the heart of the station. Here, the remnants of human presence felt eerie, as if the people had vanished in an instant. Dusty newspapers dated decades back lay scattered on benches, and a cold cup of coffee sat on a waiting area table, its contents long evaporated. Jordan, who had ventured slightly ahead, called out suddenly, "Guys, come see this." He stood at the threshold of a small office, its door ajar. Inside, amidst a scatter of ancient transit maps and timetables, lay a diary, its leather cover cracked and pages yellowed with age. Mia, her interest deeply piqued by the ancient diary, gently opened its cracked leather cover and began to read aloud to her companions. The entries inside were penned by a station master from the late 1960s, a time when the subway was still bustling with life. Initially, the notes detailed mundane, routine days of managing the comings and goings of countless passengers. However, as the dates progressed, the entries began to reflect a slow descent into confusion and madness. The station master wrote of unsettling occurrences, passengers nervously whispering about eerie voices and fleeting figures glimpsed in the peripheries of the dimly lit tunnels, figures that somehow never appeared on the surveillance cameras. As Mia continued, the tone of the diary shifted dramatically. The once routine logs grew increasingly frantic and disjointed. The station master described an intensifying presence of darkness that seemed almost palpable. Shadows began to move contrary to any source of light, creating a chilling spectacle that defied explanation. More disturbing were the voices that started permeating the stale subway air during the quiet hours between the late night and early morning trains. These voices weren't just echoes of the urban din above, but were clear, distinct, and chillingly persuasive, calling out from the shadows. They beckoned the living to step off the platform's edge and join the spectral inhabitants of the dark tunnels, blurring the lines between reality and nightmare. Mia's voice trembled slightly as she relayed these entries, her friends listening in a mixture of fascination and horror. The words from the past painted a terrifying picture of a place gradually consumed by an unseen force, where the barrier between the living and the spectral seemed to erode over time. The diary ended abruptly, with a final, desperate plea scrawled across the last readable page, warning any who found the diary to heed the station master's words, to listen carefully, yet not succumb to the whispers, to watch the shadows, yet never gaze directly into the dark, and most importantly, to leave before the night claimed them as its own. The last entry. Mia's voice faltered. It says, "They are not gone. They are hungry. Do not listen. Do not look. Do not linger." The group exchanged uneasy glances. The station seemed to press in on them, the darkness growing denser, as if absorbing the beam of their flashlights. "We should go back," Sam suggested, his usual bravado nowhere to be found. "No, we need to see the tunnels," Alex insisted, his curiosity turning into an obsession. "There's something here, something important." Reluctantly, with a heavy sense of foreboding, the group agreed to continue their exploration. Their resolve hardened by the haunting entries in the diary, they moved toward the tunnel that the station master had ominously warned about in his frantic final entries. As they neared the entrance to the tunnel, the mysterious tapping that had accompanied their journey thus far intensified, becoming louder and more urgent. It was as if the sound itself was beckoning them forward, luring them deeper into the bowels of the station. However, as they took their final steps toward the tunnel's gaping maw, the tapping ceased abruptly. In its place, a suffocating, deafening silence enveloped the group. This sudden absence of sound was overwhelming, filling their ears with a roar that wasn't made of noise but of a profound void. It felt as though the very air around them was heavy with anticipation, waiting for something unknown and ominous to unfold. This eerie quiet unnerved them more than any noise could have. The lack of sound seemed almost unnatural, as if the tunnel itself had inhaled deeply and was holding its breath, together with them. They stood frozen for a moment, the weight of the silence pressing against them, a stark contrast to the frantic tapping that had filled the moments before. Each member of the group felt the chill of fear creep up their spine as they realized they were standing on the threshold of something truly unknown and potentially sinister. Then, without warning, a chilling scream pierced the air, echoing through the station and freezing them in their tracks. It was followed by a series of whispers, not in one voice, but many, flowing like water around them, speaking in tongues long forgotten. The lights in their hands flickered and died, plunging them into an abyss. Panic took hold as they tried to regroup, but in the darkness, they became separated, their shouts for one another swallowed by the station. When the sun rose over the city the next morning, the entrance to Station 13 was sealed once again, as if it had never been opened. The explorer's gear was found neatly placed outside the entrance, as though returned by a courteous borrower. Inside, the station remained as it had for decades, silent, waiting, and eternal. Above, the city moved on, oblivious to the abyss below. Yet some nights, when the wind was just right, Whispers could be heard emanating from the sealed subway, recounting tales of the lost, warning the living to stay away from the hunger in the dark. Dare to venture into the unknown. Join us on a journey where shadows whisper and secrets lurk. Subscribe now and ring the bell to summon fresh mysteries directly to your screen every few days. Ignore this call, and be warned, an eternal curse awaits those who wander in the dark, unguided. Do you have the courage to face the unknown? Your adventure begins with a click. Welcome to the realm where every notification brings you closer to the abyss. Subscribe, if you dare.